Hello and welcome to the first SFWA conversation on YouTube, and hopefully not the last. This will be going live, and we will also, actually, I don't see any viewers yet, so I'm going to make sure that people are watching it. Oh, I see. Oh, people may be watching it right now on their pages. And luckily, we can trim all of this out when it goes up on the YouTube channel. I found.
Hooray!
I'm just going to presume that people are watching and that people will say something if they can't. So you might keep an eye on Twitter if you've got more screen space than I do. I'm on the laptop. So, hello. This is the first SFWA Google Hangout, hopefully not the last, and we're going to be talking specifically about a very large change that SFWA has made recently. SFWA, if you're not familiar with it, is the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, founded in 1965 by Damon Knight, a science fiction writer himself, and it's been around for 50 years now, about to celebrate its 50th anniversary. This year, though SFWA has traditionally admitted professional working science fiction and fantasy writers, in the past the criteria has always been that they must be traditionally published. And for the first time this year, we have opened the doors and changed our qualifying standards, not certainly lowering them by any means, but broadening them and allowing people to qualify through small press or independently published credentials. And in fact, we're doing some kind of cool stuff with that. One of the things that we're doing is considering crowdfunding as a possible business model, as a way to prove that you are a professional writer. And I think in that we're leading the way. I am sort of frantically stalling because we've got 3 other guests that should be appearing. They are other SFWA officials, but I am the current SFWA Vice President, Cat Rambo. And with me is Maggie Hogarth, and one of the reasons I'm very delighted that Maggie is here is that she has been one of the SFWA members who's been relentlessly working to get that amendment passed and to make sure that we have resources that are useful for small press members. And here we have Kate Baker, who is our office coordinator, and Kate is going to be able to talk some about the numbers that have arisen as a result of opening our doors on March 1st. So this is a cool and really nifty moment. And Maggie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Kate, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll see where we'll go from there.
Okay. Hi, I am Maggie Hogarth. I have been part of the self-publishing committee in SFWA since its inception, which was about 3 years ago now, wasn't it? I originally joined SFWA in 2000 based on some short story sales, but overwhelmingly my career is based on indie fiction. So this was something that made sense to me. If I made more money this way than I did selling any other way, I thought there's no reason why we shouldn't have that expertise and that welcome in the organization. So that's been my focus for the past 3 years since I rejoined, which is not only figuring out how we can help the people who are primarily publishing either as hybrid or indie writers, but also just getting them in the door. It's been an interesting 3 years. I think there's exciting stuff coming.
Kate, would you introduce yourself and tell us what it is you do for SFWA? Because you work pretty hard on our behalf.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I am the operations manager for SFWA, and I love to help all the new members that are coming in through the doors, especially all of the ones that we just started accepting on March 1st. It's been quite a bunch of applications, and we're working through them, so if you are in the queue, be patient, we'll get to you. But other than that, I help with all of the day-to-day operations that SFWA does as far as the membership directory. We do events, and if you have any questions, I'm the one that you come to.
Okay, cool. One of the things that I'm curious about is, could you talk for just how big has the flood of new members been? What's it been like coping with it this week?
Flood is probably not the term I would use. More of a extreme deluge. But it's more. I've accepted, I think, about 50 people so far since March 1st. We've got about 17 left in the queue, some are fringe applications, which we're going to kick up and discuss on the board. And the rest I'm waiting on support documents, financial documents that actually prove the sales that are mentioned on their applications. But it's been quite a lot of people.
And so what are you, one of the things that you mentioned to me in conversation that I thought was really interesting is that you're not finding that people are having to scramble, right? One of the things that they have to do to qualify is they have to prove $3,000 in sales from a single work over the course of a year, and the starting date for that is 2013. And initially, I think there was thoughts that people would be bringing in, here's some of my Amazon sales, here's some of my, Smashword sales, here's some of my, all of this, and you're finding actually that there's quite a bit. Actually, people are very easily qualifying, right?
Absolutely. I've noticed that a lot of self-published authors are making a lot of money out there, and it's a really welcome sight, to be honest with you. But as far as the documents that we're getting, it's all very easy to understand. A lot of KDP reports, some Amazon 1099 forms. We'll work with the author. If there's other means or ways to show us the income that you've actually can prove it. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. We're going to be putting up a more general FAQ for people, so it's a lot more understandable going forward.
Okay, cool. So, Jaym Gates is SFWA's another one of our hard-working staff members. And so, Jaym, will you introduce yourself and tell us what you do for SFWA?
Well, besides being frequently tech challenged, apparently, I'm the communications director for SFWA, which basically means that I handle all sorts of fun stuff like getting us involved in events, answering copious amounts of emails on all sorts of fascinating subjects, and just generally maintaining a communication with the great outdoors.
Okay. And Jaym, as a PR person, what have been the sort of opportunities that this has presented for SFWA? Kind of what do you see, how do you see people reacting to this? Is this word getting around about this, or are people, what are people thinking?
Well, so there's this really interesting little tool on Facebook that shows how many interactions and views you have of a post, and the self-publishing announcement had more views and interactions than I think anything we've ever published. We've been having people come up to us at conventions just super excited about the idea of SFWA opening to indie authors, asking us what they could do to help, when it would happen. So it's definitely something that there's been a space for in the market, and it's really fun to see people starting to get excited about it now that it's actually opening, and asking when they can join and what they need to do, and being really happy to get in on it.
Okay, yeah, that's every person. Well, yeah, just about every person I have talked to has just been pleased and excited, and even the ones who don't quite qualify yet are, I think, appreciative that we have opened up. And honestly, I qualified through short stories, and if I were coming in through novel, I'm publishing with a small press myself. So
yeah,
yeah.
And I do PR for several hybrid authors in a hybrid publishing house, and I'm doing that partly because there's so many more options available that way, and because it's kind of amazing the understanding of the new market that a lot of the hybrid publishers and authors have is something that I think that we could all really learn from and use to kind of move our industry forward, because we do tend to have some issues adopting new technology and finding the best way to do that. And I think that opening up to such a wide variety will strengthen the entire, the whole package.
Yeah, absolutely. So Maggie, you've been out there. You're pretty well known in the independent field, and you've been out there sort of championing this to outside folks. So one of the questions I was wondering is, so what are you telling people when they say to you, why should I join SFWA? I can't. Okay. We've flummoxed. You've either flummoxed you or you're currently muted. Yeah, I think you're muted. You're not muted on, now you're muted on here, but I think you were muted on your machine, perhaps. Okay, now you're not muted. Now you're showing as unmuted, but say something. No, no. You might want to plug and unplug your microphone if you're using one. I'm going to let you troubleshoot. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk myself a little bit about what I think are the benefits, because this is something that I have thought long and hard about. One of the things that I think is awesome about SFWA is the community, particularly on the discussion boards. I see lively and useful information being exchanged on a daily basis, and I think much of what I've learned about self-publishing and indie publishing has been from those boards, particularly from members, Jim Johnson, who I may be watching right now. He's one of our indefatigable moderators, but he's very good about going and getting self-publishing stuff from the Kindle boards and bringing it over. And Maggie is very good about driving discussion in the self-publishing forum. We're working on putting in discussion board sort of hosts, right? So for a particular topic, you have somebody who's posting links and driving conversation. So I think that's good stuff there, right? We have the SFWA Emergency Medical Fund, which if people get in a jam with medical issues, they can apply for a loan from that. We have a legal fund, which has a similar purpose. Sorry, the word purpose completely led my mind for a second there. But SFWA also has, one of the things that I've noticed lately is we got the Nebula ballot, right, went up, right? SFWA sponsors the Nebula Awards, which are a big deal each year. And in fact, we're working on a very cool new Nebula Award website that Jaym has been driving. And one of the things I noticed was we got the Nebula voter packet, and there was which Kate put together, there's a lot of good reading there. I think there was my membership fees value right there in terms of just the reading. There were several books I was going to buy on my own, so I was very happy about that. Maggie, how are you doing with your sound?
I don't know, does it work?
Yay, perfect.
Okay. Okay, what? I don't know why this thing is not functioning, but I'm going to ignore it. Okay. So what was the question again?
The question is, so what have you been telling people? People are saying to you, well, why should I join SFWA? And you presumably are telling them something other than, like, I want you to, or here's $5, please join SFWA.
Okay, well, let me first say that, let me throw this out as the reason why people are telling me that they're joining, because I think this is important. As a shout out, overwhelmingly when people say, I want to support something by joining SFWA, what they talk about is writer beware, so go Victoria.
Yeah,
that's fantastic work. What I tell them when they ask me is, why would you want to join any professional networking organization? Networking is part of any business, no matter what business you're in. It's particularly important for businesses like ours, which are mostly done solitary, in offices all by ourselves. And yet, when we want to sell something, or we want to engage readers, or we want to have any connection to the commercial part of our business, which it is, we have to talk with other people. We have to have liaisons with other people. We have to figure out, well, I had this problem. How do I fix it? How did other people fix it? Am I alone? Who has already done this that I can help, that I can get help from? Who is trying to do this that I could help, that, maybe one day they'll know something that I need to know. So what I tell them is, you hear about the legal fund and the emergency medical fund and writer beware and our con suites where apparently the parties are amazing, which I never get to because I don't travel. But overwhelmingly, what we really, the real value in joining any organization like this is the people you meet and the connections that you make that way. So that's my spiel.
That's awesome. That's a great spiel. I'm happy to have you out there spieling away. So, Jaym, do you have an answer that you're telling people? Is there anything else that you'd stress?
I think one of the biggest things, of course, besides writer beware, is, like Maggie said, we're kind of all doing this in a solitary manner. And, when I joined the industry, I had to learn so much on my own. Like, I kind of had to bootstrap on a lot of things. And looking back, there are so many things that I wish that I just had someone I could look at and avoid some of the obvious mistakes. And I think that for indie publishing in particular, it is still a relatively new market that has a lot of pitfalls. It also has a lot of people who are very aware of how they can take advantage of other folks. I mean, that happens so frequently in this industry as it is, and then if you get off into a side of things where the lines are already a little more murky, I think a lot of things can go unnoticed sometimes or can look fine until they aren't. And so I think that now that we're starting to open SFWA up, we'll be able to combine forces and make the industry better for everyone, but also hopefully to help some of the newer authors avoid some of the pitfalls that maybe they've been having to learn on their own. Keeping more of an oversight out for whoever the new Publish America or whatever other sort of fun little thing is out there will be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool.
If I can just add to that, so one of the things that we're quite proud of is that we're a volunteer organization. So if there's things out there that you want to see, join us and tell us about it, and let's get it started. We have the SFWA reading series, so where we can feature, I think we've got Portland, Seattle. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jaym, we just opened one up in North Carolina.
Well, we adopted, my current project has just gone under the SFWA header out here, yes.
That's fun.
Perfect. So, I mean, we're looking always to expand that program, and, the strength of our organization is the strength of its members, and we have the power to shape the landscape, the ever-changing, uncertain, rocky landscape that, we're all sort of faced with at this point. So the more voices that we can add to the pot, the better we're going to be able to understand that problem and tackle it.
Yeah. And I'm going to second that, because I put my volunteer time into SFWA, and I do it as much as anything because of the people, and because of the wonderful people that I get a chance to work with, and because of the wonderful things that get accomplished. I used to work with Microsoft with a high-performance team, a team of kind of the best and the brightest, and manage them. And I will say I think the SFWA team matches them any day of the week. They're just always doing amazing stuff. But do volunteer, because volunteering, we actually will find a role for you that's fun, that you will enjoy, right? If you're a super introvert, we won't make you interact with anyone. We'll let you sit in a room. If you like interacting with people, we'll find something to capitalize on that. It's all sorts of stuff like that. I wanted to also say about the convention suites, and I'm hoping you'll join us this year, Maggie, at the 50th, because one of the nice things about those is you do get a chance to go in and often sit with some of the greats, right, and sit with some of the people that have made science fiction. Because over the course of 50 years, a lot of just amazing writers have come and gone through SFWA. Hopefully not gone so much. Mostly
we like keeping them.
We like keeping them.
If necessary, it earns on the mantle.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. SFWA, and that's one of the nice things about this membership effort for me has been seeing all the new folks come in and just seeing the enthusiasm and the energy that they're bringing to the boards, and I'm pleased and happy and excited, and it just and like everyone else, slightly overwhelmed because there's a lot of stuff going on right now, a lot of big changes. Kate, one of the things I wanted. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's been this kind of false dichotomy for years, I think, of, indie pub versus traditional, and when it comes right down to it, there are so many similarities and there are so many crossovers. I mean, I've been playing both sides of the field since I got in here. My anthologies primarily run through really small presses or on Kickstarter, and they have been absolutely fabulous experiences for me. I've also worked with traditional publishing, and I really like that we're starting to find the common ground and say, hey, this isn't a versus, this is a we're all in this together, let's combine resources, let's really make things as good for everyone as possible, and I think this is a good step in that direction.
Absolutely. Kate, I wanted to ask you a question, which is, let's say I'm a person trying to apply. How do I make my applications so easy for you to process that it speeds through and doesn't get held up?
Well, that's a multi-part answer, because if you're applying with a qualifying market, all I need is a link, or if you want to share the contract, you can. Self-pub is a little bit more difficult as we need some sort of proof of income. So a KDP report with everything highlighted would be extremely helpful. If you're applying with one novel, I just want to see that one novel that's highlighted so I can do the math and make sure that it all adds up. A contract, if you're with a small press, that actually states, how much you've made, and if you're doing sort of like a dual thing where you have a advance of maybe $1,500 and you're making the rest up with royalties, something to support those royalties as well. The thing that's going to save me time is if you have all of your information in that one sort of application. I don't have to go back to you and say, okay, I need this or this or this. So anything that you can do or anything that you can provide that would make that that process much simpler would be awesome.
Okay, cool. So, and Maggie, what questions are you hearing from people?
Oh, well, let's see. I just got one from someone. I think he's pulling my chain about how we can help authors promote and sell web serial fiction. And I think that's pulling my chain because I used to do web serial fiction. My answer to everyone who says, how can you guys help me with any of these questions, is anytime you have, I would say, the number of people who are interacting on the forums, maybe 100 people even out of our 1,800 membership or whatever it is. Anytime you have 100 people who are all doing the same thing in the attempt to do the same thing, which is make money writing science fiction or fantasy, then you have access to all the ideas and all the experience of those 100 people. And one of them would be me, who would be, yeah, I can help you figure out how to sell your serial fiction.
Right.
So that's what I would say to, yes, what I'm saying to you, Bahu. So I'm gonna come tweak your tail back later at the Furry Writers Guild when I get back. But overwhelmingly, the question is always why should I do it? So I just bring out the people are awesome thing. And we have so many cool things going forward. I'm so excited about that. I want to be able to share that. I'm not sure they're far enough along to be shared.
Well, some of them are. There's at least some projects where I'm like 80% sure they will manifest, and one of them is the Nebula ceremonies this year. I think will be amazing. It is the 50th anniversary. We're inviting a lot of the past presidents. We're inviting a lot of the grandmasters, and it should be just if you want to come rub elbows with the some of not all but some of the greats, they will be there, and I think that's pretty cool.
And if I add to that quick, it is open to the public, so if you're on the fence about joining SFWA, register for the event. Come see what we're all about. Let us impress you. So it's $80 for non-members right now. You can go to our website and find out a little bit more. But it's going to be one hell of a weekend, and we want you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're always happy to talk to people. You know, one of the biggest things that I do when I'm at conventions is I literally stand at a table for, 8 to 10 hours at a time and talk to people about why I think that SFWA is useful, what we have coming up, what we're hoping to do. Just a little bit of everything, and we're more than happy to do that, offline as well, or at the Nebula weekends. So by all means, feel free, if you have questions, if you have uncertainties, or if you don't know why it might be useful to you, or even if it would be useful to you in the future, talk to us. We have answers, or we know who to go poke to get answers.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that's happening this year as part of the 50th celebration is we're having a big blog tour where people will be posting blog posts about why they joined SFWA, or their favorite SFWA moments, or hopefully nobody's posting about like why they left SFWA and a half. I don't think we're asking those folks, but we are asking. I mean, I think it will be a kind of fun conversation, and I know a lot of my friends are tired of me because I twist their arm like, so you're gonna write a blog post for the blog tour, and it's yeah.
And to our new members, Todd is always looking for new content.
Yeah,
so just send him a message and let him know if you have something you would be interested in writing about, or even if you don't necessarily have a topic, just email email Todd and say, hey, I have interest in writing. I don't have a topic. Anything you need me to write about. So.
Right, and that's for the SFWA blog, which appears on the SFWA website. Which is, and
it's a paid market.
It's a paid market, and it's a good way. That's how I think I've made my membership fees back each year, is I do a lot of little pieces on writerly tools, because I like looking at writerly tools, and particularly promotional tools, and poking at them.
The bulletin as well.
Bulletin, yeah.
You can go ahead and submit to there as well. And go bulletin@sfwa.org.
Yeah.
And we'd really love to get more pieces on the different facets of indie or hybrid publishing as well. So definitely, email folks and get some writing, and we would love to see it.
We've already had several too, which things that are useful not only to every writer. The last issue had some really fabulous stuff that I think is applicable to everybody.
Yeah, it's a professional journal, right? It is aimed at people who are making a living at writing. That is what SFWA is. It is an organization for professional writers. And one of the things that I really want to stress is, because somebody said, oh, you're lowering your standards. I was like, no, we are by no means. In fact, we raised them, right? We raised the advanced size for the traditional folks and said, $3,000. That is what you got to prove. So we broadened our standards, certainly, and in doing so, I think we've made a move towards increased professionality.
Okay, so there is a question I do get pretty frequently, and I do not know the answer to it. I do know people who will tell me they have multiple books out, and these multiple books will make them several $1,000s a month. But they're not making $3,000 in a year on a single book. So how do we handle that? Are we handling it?
Right now, we're not looking at it, but this is something that as we learn from all of this, I want to be looking at, because that is increasingly a very valid business model, and I think we need to acknowledge that. And the reason that we have it, the reason that it's not in there now is because it doesn't fit into the traditional model at all, right? Nobody is going to be like, I'm going to write 30 novels and sell them to DAW at $1,000 each or something like that. So that is one of the things. And one of the things I want to stress is that this is very much a learning experience for us. One of the things that, Kate is keeping a list of what the questions are, because we're trying to figure out the rules as we go along. And go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, we've had traditional publishing for 50 years, and we're still trying to figure out all of the rules and guidelines for that. It's a very gnarly subject.
And one of the things that came up in conversation today is somebody wrote to Kate and said, why, if I have stuff that is award-winning and high quality, Why can't you guys accept that? And the answer is, yeah, we're willing to certainly take a look at it, but generally, we are not in the business of determining quality and whose writing is better than somebody else's, right? Because that's an arbitrary thing, that's a fickle thing, that's sometimes subject to other factors, So what we are looking at, despite the fact that we know this is an imperfect standard, is the money, because the money is quantifiable. The money is something that you can say, yes, I am making enough, oh gosh, to make enough to, I knew my cat would
Hi,
derail it
kitty.
at some point. You're making enough money to pay the bills, right? So that's what we're doing. This is Raven, and he's going to move now. So somebody else wanted to say, because I otherwise I think we're going to wrap up, unless there's more questions. And I thought we would finish by, there's the traditional touting of what we're doing and all of that. But, are there other things that we should be addressing? This video will be going up on the brand new SFWA YouTube channel. So if you're seeing it on the YouTube channel, welcome to the new YouTube channel, and thank our wonderful coordinator, Juliet Wade, for its existence, because that's pretty cool. But is there anything that I'm leaving out, that we're forgetting, that needs to go on this video, that needs to be preserved? I'm sure this will not be the only video.
Yeah, I would say to new members, talk to us. Let us know how you're doing, what you're doing. The applications that are coming in are just amazing to me. And it's something that, for the last 5 years I haven't seen. And I think if we start the dialogue, if we start, discussing how we can possibly help each other make that sort of money, that's huge for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going off of what I said earlier, it is a collaborative thing. The tendency to get into competition about stuff just hurts everyone in the long run. So I think that we're in a period where we're still trying to figure out, how the market is going to evolve, what its future shape is going to be. We have a lot of big battles not very far on the horizon, I think. And the more information and the more resources we have, not just in money, but the people that we know, the knowledge that we have, that's the kind of stuff that may make the difference in whether or not we're able to guide the industry forward in a way that is healthy for everyone. And I think that we have demonstrated that ability several times, many times in the past, and that we will continue to do so. But we can only do so if people, like Kate said, communicate with us and let us know. If you see an issue in the industry, let writer beware know. Even if you're not sure, if there's just something that's setting you off a little bit that you're thinking, this doesn't feel right, I can't put my finger on why, but there's something off here, Sometimes they'll have gotten 10 other reports like that, not really anything that they can put their finger on either, but when you start seeing that pattern, you can start watching for things. And that's the kind of stuff that we really also need information on, so that we can track patterns and help people out who are in, if they're running into some issues. We have assisted presses and groups in the past with ironing out transitions and things like that. So the more information we have, the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll throw in my comment. If you are new and you are just burning with energy and would like to help, please come talk to me, because we have about 1 billion projects that I think are very exciting things for our hybrids and our indies that really need volunteer power, and they will be of immense benefit. I'm just super excited just thinking about them. But we do need people to help us move those forward. And so if you are interested in immediately getting the value of your $90 back in terms of, awesome stuff that you can take advantage of, please come see me, and I will put you to work on something that will excite you as much as it excites me. So yeah, absolutely. We would love to help you have as much help as possible to make all these great things happen now that we have new people coming.
Awesome. And that's I'm actually going to close here unless you guys have other stuff that you want to say. But I wanted to mention one of the questions that came up recently on the SFWA discussion boards. And somebody said, right now publishing, it's like the Wild West, right? There's a lot of new territory. There's a lot of new rules. There's a lot of just, kind of things that writers should beware of. And in that landscape, which is uncertain and perilous and sometimes a little frightening, you know, be aware. SFWA is there, has your back. You know, we are very excited about these new members. We are welcoming you wholeheartedly. So, okay, I'm going to end right there. Do, 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 do.